All right, well, we're going to see how this goes today. So, in the room, we have Sadie, we have Lola, we have Jackie, we have Maddie, and we have DJ. So, yay, this is my friend Sadie. We go way back. So, Sadie, thanks so much for doing this today. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Maddie, for accommodating us and Lola to your lovely home. So if you don't mind, if you would, introduce yourself to people, kind of tell us who you are, what you do now.
My name is Sadie. I'm a physician assistant. I've been in practice for about 4 years. I came from an undergrad of kinesiology, moved here to Arizona to go to ASU since we have a stellar program. Worked in health and wellness for several years. Love prevention, talking about diet, talking about exercise, healthy living, and I transitioned kind of out of prevention. Not that I don't still talk a lot about it, but onto the sort of treatment side.
Awesome. Cool. So you're a PA.
Yes.
So what background does somebody need to be a PA? What do you have to do?
So PAs come with lots of different sort of bachelor's degrees or training. People in my class were from EMTs to lab technicians, medical assistants, entering sort of just a biochemistry or a chemistry undergrad that weren't sure what they were going to do as far as medical school, physical therapy, PA, occupational therapy. There's lots of those health careers that kind of start with that basic bachelor's in a science degree typically. Okay. And then the PA program is typically a 2-year master's program.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Did you do that at ASU, or where did you do that?
So in Arizona, there's NAU for the state school, and then there's 2 private schools, which is AT Still and Midwestern University.
Oh, right on. Okay.
So 3 options here in Arizona, but lots of programs throughout the country too.
Awesome. Okay, so you go to 2 years, and then what happens after those 2 years? You're ready to go, or?
After 2 years, and just a real quick about the curriculum. Usually the first year is a lot of the didactics, so all the book work, anatomy, physiology. There's anatomy lab, which I thought was one of my favorite parts of the program.
Cool.
I was actually working on a cadaver.
Okay.
And the second year is usually a rotational situation where you go into different parts of medicine. And one of the great things I love about being a PA is you really can have a different niche. So coming from a sports and sort of wellness background, I always thought I would do physical therapy. When I gave that a try, for some reason it just didn't seem to be my passion. But a lot of PAs work in orthopedics. So still having that knowledge base of the musculoskeletal system, or being an athlete, working with sports, sort of loves, still has a really huge sort of niche within it. But yeah, people do dermatology, emergency medicine. I happen to be in primary care for now, being just kind of a new grad. I have a feeling someday I'll end up in a specialty, but still exploring all the systems. So I think one of the great things about being a PA is that rotational year you get to explore. You get to choose a few specialties as well as the core curriculum. And then after that, there's a boards to pass.
Okay, so you take a board exam. Okay.
Yep. And then from there, it's finding jobs. And,
Okay. Awesome. That's great. So so you kind of started what you like and what you don't like about it. So what do you like about being a PA? What don't you like it?
I think one of the things that led me to be a physician assistant was still, again, to be able to talk prevention, because I think lifestyle and health and wellness is at the core of everything we do, or should be.
Right.
And so I didn't want to lose that with my experience working at the Paradise Valley Community College. I worked in employee wellness, and I worked in sort of retirement communities. So I've kind of seen the gamut of different environments to use my kinesiology undergrad, and I loved it. I actually had such a great time. I had to sort of pinch myself and remember that if I'm going to go back to school, it was time. So I took a pretty big gap. But what I loved about the PA career was that idea of movement within the field of medicine. So you don't have to go back to school to do a specialty. So some of my classmates went into transplant surgery, ER. You can kind of pick your level of shifts, if you will, or have more of that 8 to 5 like I've chosen, being a mom. So there's just so many careers within you know, the field of being a physician assistant. So it's really broad, and yeah, a lot of, or some doctors I work with that are either specialists or whatnot kind of go, that's fairly neat, because once you dove into, you know, that from the MD DO standpoint, sometimes you don't get to have that room for movement without going back for more education. And within a PA, you're kind of doing on-the-job training.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's great. So I think one of the complaints that people usually have in, like, you know, physical therapy and other fields like that is they have so much paperwork to do. Like, that's usually the biggest. Just like, do you have that as well? Is that
I would say, yeah, the charting is kind of the grunt work, you know, it's the harder part of the job, just because for most people that pick this career, I think it's the interaction that's really helping people. It's educating and being face to face. But unfortunately, in the world of insurance and healthcare, we have to document, and it's needed. It definitely leaves that trail, and you can go back and progress. But it is a part of the job that ends up being kind of that desk-based, clicking the computer, which has been helpful compared to what I see in paper charts. But it does consume a fair amount of time that people need to be ready for when they choose a career.
Okay, but so you do still get to interact with people, of
Oh,
course,
definitely.
and help them.
Definitely.
So how do you make a difference as a PA?
One of the things I thought about, yeah, as far as what I get refueled from, and it's probably metabolic disease.
Okay.
So I don't know if everyone understands that term, but cholesterol, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, just all these things that I think unfortunately in America we just are battling huge percentage of problems. So what really I feel like can make us a difference is that, and I don't think most providers jump towards medicine, but I definitely stress and try my best to see if there's room for a lifestyle change, which is usually the harder change, because it isn't, here's your prescription, fill it. It's what do you eat, how much do you eat, how much do you move, what's your stress level like, how are you working on, the big picture
so
of.
That does exist in medical care.
It does.
Maybe just with Sadie, people need to come see you.
I would say the other side of that coin is, it's very time-based appointments. So I think most people have the best of intentions. It's just whether you can get in all that education and really find what someone needs. And I find I will run late because I want a person to at least have the opportunity to express that, and we'll do a 3-month, sort of trial and see if we can, whether it's a lab that we need to improve or a blood pressure value we're trying to bring down, or weight on the scale. I don't really always love to talk just weight, but body transitions, because most people, I feel, have good intentions for those things, but they might not be as motivated until it's become a health issue.
Right.
And when I see someone with success, it gives me ultimate, joy that it made a difference. And yes, we will treat if we cannot do what we need to do to maintain some version of wellness. But I feel like medicine is always second line. It's not the first thing to go to when, again, someone's willing to at least try.
Oh, that's so encouraging. Yay. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite patient or something? I know you can't give any kind of medical information out.
I'd say my patients that have either kind of taken their pre-diabetic numbers on their labs back to normal values, they've successfully lost some weight, or quit smoking. Those are my favorite patients, because they definitely come back not only with maybe what they're coming to see you for today, but a thank you, or it was your words or your approach or something that makes you go, okay, taking those extra minutes in a visit, running a little bit late potentially, or staying through lunch, or staying late at the office, that it paid off for somebody. And those are my favorite patients, because then it becomes personal.
Does it ever happen the other way, where you feel like you keep telling people like this is important and they're just not listening to you?
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, there's probably more than I would like that just sort of determine that it's too hard to make changes or spend either, lifestyle isn't easy. And we live in, I feel, a country where it's just more convenient to sort of go with the status quo, which I think that is why we have so much metabolic disease, is convenience trumps, quality and the things that we do sometimes. So all means, sometimes you feel blue in the face, but I still try to
Someday.
encourage
Right.
and
Yep. We'll have that wake up call and we'll be there.
Thank you.
Yay. Do you recommend your career, and especially especially looking at, is there a need for more PAs?
Definitely. I mean, one of the reasons NAU came out with a state program is the shortage of medical providers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like jobs are always available. There's a need. By all means, I would recommend it. I love being a PA. I'm not gonna say it's not hard. It's definitely the hardest I've ever worked. Just because it is patient care. It is, somebody's coming in with a complaint or a concern or a health issue, and your job is to sometimes diagnose it or manage it or prevent it. So you kind of have to be ready for tough situations, tricky ones, tough patients, all kinds of different clientele, and it's not always easy, but it is rewarding because those patients that you feel you've made a difference will always overdo anybody who might be upset that they waited a little bit in the waiting room, or they didn't get exactly the treatment they expected to come into. So.
But yeah, you're helping people with their health, which is.
And I think, and what I loved about kinesiology and exercise and wellness was I'm very passionate about prevention, but I think seeing a little bit of the swings in the economy made me a little bit nervous that I was having to pull together a couple different jobs, so to speak, to kind of make things be where I wanted. And I think healthcare in itself is just a very strong field, because I don't think us as Americans are getting anywhere where we're going to be reducing that workforce.
Okay. Yeah, so just to clarify, so you were in the fitness industry and decided to not really leave it, you just changed positions.
Yeah, I feel like I added on.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I went from being, I only talked about your prevention or about how to work with your lifestyle, and now I can move to that second step if you've done everything you can, or we've tried, and now we have to get more to treatment.
Yeah, cool. So, it can be a tough industry, I will say that, but
it's fun, and it's so rewarding. Like I said, I loved it, and had to be reminded that, we were going to go back to school, because working with athletes and it's definitely an area I love and always want to be in my own life, so it helps.
Good. Awesome. So you are able then to fit in time with your daughter, even when not being interrupted by me coming to interview you. So you do have family time. You are able to fit that in. So I know you said you've chosen to do the 8 to 5 kind of job thing. So.
Yep, I decided with how my husband's schedule works, we're better kind of doing that Monday through Friday traditional schedule. But some moms do the emergency room because it's shift work, and you can pick so many shifts per month. Urgent cares can work like that too, sometimes part-time. There's lots of different ways to, again, take the career and find what niche of it fits you best. And what I've liked is, I can work 4 days a week, longer days, so I get an extra day to sort of be home with my daughter and not have so much childcare, and so that works for us right now. And maybe when she's in school, it'll change again, but.
Okay, so you work 4 days a week. Cool. Okay, so you sound very happy then. So what do you think? What is the secret to being happy, Sadie? Do you have any wisdom for us?
I think it is probably finding that passion to make sure that when you leave every day for a job, that there's always going to be stressful parts of working. I mean, whether it's the commute or working as a team or collaborating. Again, patients can sometimes be very challenging, not because they want to, but because they're very ill. So just remembering what does sort of make you get up and go to work, because if it's just for a paycheck, it tends to be something that won't last. And just kind of finding challenge along with sort of this joy and success.
Cool.
So,
I like the word challenge. That's one you haven't used much, so you like to be challenged at work.
Yeah, I feel like that's always a good thing. You're always learning, and I think with the PA field or any medical career with certification, you have to keep up your medical education credits. So to realize medicine's always moving forward, and you have to stay on top of guidelines or new therapies, new medicines. I mean, there's never a dull moment. I don't think people ever say that they're bored when they work in medicine.
Okay.
So.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Anything else you want to tell us about your career, your life, or general wisdom that you'd want people to know? It's a good career, and
I guess again, just that, as far as health goes, it's finding, healthy diet, regular physical exercise, managing stress. So whether that comes from your job or your life or,
school, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
And finding time for your inner peace, good sleep, good friends, socialization, and just balancing. I kind of always describe it as like spokes on a wheel. Everything is supporting that center health, and so making all of them strong and sort of balanced helps you too. Because if we kind of put all of our eggs in sort of one basket, it's not a good wheel. So finding how to juggle all those things and.
That's awesome. Cool. Thanks. Cool.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Sadie. And
No
we'll
problem.
be good.